I think a lot of us think we regulate our nervous system and are able to tolerate stress well, but then our body kind of gives us the cues on the back end, like, hey, maybe you didn't tolerate that great.
And it's also, I think, we live such fast-paced lives now that it's easy to forget the basics.
Yep. We all kind of give up on the basics. Sleeping plenty, eating enough, drinking enough water, getting electrolytes in, moving daily, doing all the things we know we should be doing.
And all the things are coming at you from the day-to-day.
And then we wonder why by Friday we're absolutely wiped out.
One of the best things for anxiety is action. Making some actionable step towards that, not just thinking about it. It's easy to assume that anxiety is not a normal thing.
Realistically, nervous system wise, it's never a normal week. Normal is not what baseline should be.
I think this episode we're going to chat on our own health journeys over the last few months. I feel like we've both been on finding ways that we can better our own health, because even though we coach and teach and educate on all of these things and we see patients with all of these issues, we are certainly still human. And we have a lot of issues and health concerns and things like that for our own selves that we've been working on. So talk a little bit, what have you been working on? What are your kind of symptoms, issues, your goals, and some of the things you've been working on?
Yeah, kind of a long-winded roundabout answer to that. But part of my health journey has come in phases, working on a lot of detoxing, working on detox pathways in particular, cellular energy, histamine intolerance, coupled with nervous system regulation, some GI issues, all of that, which arguably all of that are all willing to kind of point directly back to each other. So basically at the root of all of those, I would argue, is just nervous system regulation as a whole. I think a lot of us think we regulate our nervous system and are able to tolerate stress well, but then our body kind of gives us the cues on the back end, like, hey, maybe you didn't tolerate that great. Maybe you actually let that get to you a little bit more than you thought. And that's where we get stuck in that loop, like I have, of feeling like I'm spending all week in recovery, feeling like I'm taking days to bounce back after, what seems like a normal week, but realistically, nervous system wise, it's never a normal week. Normal is not what baseline should be. So a big portion of all of that has just been, nervous system regulation as a whole, working on stuff at home, really giving my body and my brain and my mind, all of them, some consistency, focusing more on routines, focusing on completing the basics. We all kind of give up on the basics. Sleeping plenty, eating enough, drinking enough water, getting electrolytes in, moving daily, doing all the things we know we should be doing, but tend to get just aside and we're stressed and we just grab an iced coffee and push through the day.
Yeah. And all the things are coming at you from the day-to-day.
And then we wonder why by Friday we're absolutely wiped out. Of course, your body has no energy in the tank.
Yep.
You just drained all of it and then some.
Yeah. And your regulation pendulum tends to get stuck on a swing rather than always coming back to base.
Yep.
On a day-to-day, hour-to-hour, whatever we try to look at, right? And I think it's important too that and not for you, just for everybody, right? But regulation is not staying at a constant, but being able to have a stressor swing your pendulum one way and having the tools that it doesn't get stuck on the swing out.
Yes.
Or it's rather able to come back to center, right? Because we still should be feeling emotions, feeling stress, feeling anxiousness, right? Because these are all true emotions, right? And if we feel them for a handful of minutes, that's great. If we feel them for periods of days, that's when it becomes problematic and not a thing, or not a good thing, rather.
Yeah, I would say having that flexibility.
Yeah.
You're able to have these stressful moments, able to, tolerate stress, because stress is going to happen. Expecting, a peaceful day will happen when there's nothing coming up. It's just you looking for the control in it.
Yep.
Looking to be able to control situations, predict what's going to happen, not having a variability. And that's just not real life.
No.
And so
that's adult life. That's not even real life. That's if you try to control and limit the amount of stressors or variance in your day, you end up living a pretty bland, slower life. Right?
And then we get into other issues because you're not getting that novelty, not getting that stimulus, all of that.
Yep.
And then we're getting issues on the other end of the spectrum.
Yep. And it's also, I think, we live such fast-paced lives now that it's easy to forget the basics.
Yep.
It's easy to assume that anxiety is not a normal thing. I think it's important to kind of rephrase that, or maybe reshift the frame for that.
Yep.
To excitement, right? And when we're anxious on something, it's usually because it matters to us and we're excited about it. It's important to us, right? So like, and there's a lot behind it. We care about it. One of the best things for anxiety is action.
Yep.
Right? And whether that's drafting an email or planning a response or
just learning the
planning or doing the thing,
Yep.
Making some actionable step towards that, not just
thinking about
it.
Yep.
Which we tend to get into a loop of driving or working or whatever. And we tend to never have time to actually move onto that or take action on what's making us anxious.
Yeah, well, I'd say there's also somewhat of, a variety to it. There's definitely anxiety with cause. There's this one thing, I have a big meeting coming up, or asking for a raise, or whatever it could be circumstantial, which I think we need to realize that is normal anxiety.
Yeah.
That is absolutely with cause.
Yeah.
On the flip side, if you're just waking up feeling like your body's buzzing, constant stimulus, constantly feeling overstimulated, all of these things, it may not be anxiety necessarily. It may just be that your body is in fight or flight and it doesn't know how to shift out of that.
Yeah.
And that's where I think it's more of a physiological thing rather than a mental thing.
Yeah.
Because it's not one specific thing. There's always the next thing.
Yeah. And my first thought is like anxiousness when you see a friend text you.
Yep.
Or your parents are calling.
Yep.
And it's like, otherwise, any other day you just answered. Like, but for some reason today, it's like your system's not able to handle that. And you get into that fight or flight of just answering family or friends.
Yep.
That's, if it's situational based on, a task at hand, a project up, or, the upcoming weekend or whatever, let's try to chalk that to excitement, right? But if it's something that is a day-to-day or, talking, communicating.
Right.
Anxious on your day, feeling bodily angst. So I guess, what are some of the ways, I know you've been working on detox and things, what are some of the ways you've been doing that in your day-to-day life? Because I know you've tried a whole lot.
Yep.
Having access to all the things we have access to, we get to trial and error quite a bit.
Yep.
So, I guess talk on some of the things that were like the biggest movers for you. I know sauna's a big one for you.
Yeah. I would say there's a couple of aspects. So I've found that coming at it from different angles, which is, of course, our mantra here in general. It's not just one thing.
Yep.
Stacking is absolutely the best, but doing it within reason and also keeping it limited. It's not a matter of more is always better. It is which of the few are going to work best for you. And so I can say this from my own personal experience because I've tried most of them. For me personally, going at it from both the brain side of things and also the actual physiological side of things. So by that meaning the brain side of things, neurofeedback, absolutely. That and TMS, I feel like helps substantially. Shifting out of that day-to-day fight or flight, shifting out of that, really feeling like everything has to be planned for, everything has to be prepped for. There's always something going on, something overwhelming. Yes, there's always stuff on the to-do list. Yes, there's always going to be stuff coming up. Yes, there's always a growing to-do list. But me being able to control that is not going to change it.
You can see the ship, but you can't control the seas, right?
Yep, exactly. So from the physiological aspect, I would say I've worked a lot on my cellular healing, cellular health in general, all of that. A combination of sauna. Big fan of sauna, making sure everything is detoxing properly, getting that phase 3 of detox, which a lot of people overlook. Everyone thinks sauna is just raising internal body temperature. However, the actual active sweating is fantastic for excreting toxins.
Yeah, that's one of our 3 elimination pathways.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So that's been a big factor for the back end, making sure the cellular energy is supported by any of the precursors that we might need, that we may not be getting just from our diet. CoQ10, any of your B vitamins, those types of things. I'm a big fan of antioxidants. If we aren't getting those readily from what we're eating, doing some...
You have a sure benefit from good fat.
Yep, doing some supplements of those. Glutathione, NAC, any of those are fantastic. And I personally feel like when I get that physical feeling of anxiety or nervous system dysregulation, fight or flight, whatever you want to call it, it tends to not be with cause, it is a detox cause in my case. It is absolutely that there's a bottleneck in the system. Toxins are not able to move and get flushed out properly, whether it's because I'm not doing the proper things in the first place, or because I'm letting the stress of the day-to-day get to me, or I'm just not giving my cells the energy they need in the first place. Whatever it is, root cause-wise, if I support those detox pathways, really support the cellular health in general, I notice a substantial change pretty quickly. Especially with things like glutathione, I can notice almost immediately. So that physically I lose that feeling. And
it's interesting too, because those were things that you were doing even before some of the more comprehensive tests that we ran. Right. And it's interesting to, I think, back to the basics, right? But we starting going a little crazy with everything that we have access to. Turns out after some Dutch testing, after some organic acids overviews, after GI, it's like, hey, and like, not to blame your genetic pathways, but you have a COMT in kind of that aspect of methylation dysfunction, which your stress over the last 3 years of trying to open a business and
affect
other people's health, and I think a process of just overuse and underfueling in the appropriate ways has definitely exploited that genetic
absolutely
kind of genetic maladaptation. No, I'm blanking on it. That genetic variance.
There you go, great.
Cool.
Well, I feel like with all of my testing that I did, it was kind of a 50-50. It was bittersweet, you know? It was really good to see there was nothing big going on, and it was really good to get the validation of what it was. But also on the flip side, it's like, okay, now I can see there's just these few specific things that I really need to work on, and I'm glad not to focus on. So bittersweet in that, like, yes, it's all stuff I technically knew before. However, it was just validation, confirmation that, okay, this is why it's these areas. And it tells me, you know, maybe I do have a gene component to it, but that just means, great, my other methylation pathways are working great. I am able to do all of these other things to detox out. However, there's just one little bottleneck in the system. Now I know what to focus on. Well, that's great.
And I think staples, like, you take a big responsibility and dedication to sleep, to calories in a day, which is surprisingly a lot more than we think. Your metabolic analysis, you came back at what you need
2,600 to 3,000.
2,600 to 3,000 calories a day just based on your activity. And that's to still lose weight.
Around 2,600 if I'm trying to lose weight,
If we're down anywhere below, anything greater than 400 of a deficit, you're not losing weight.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
You're fueling.
Which is arguably part of my entire health history over the past 3 years of underfueling, way under eating on calories. Eating on days I thought I was eating enough calories, not quite eating enough. Or getting stuck in the seesaw of some days I'm overeating, some days I'm undereating, and I never truly find a baseline, which again goes into nervous system regulation, because everything is like, well, when are we going to get our next surplus? Let's hold on to this, because the next few days we're probably going to undereat, and then by the end of the week I'm absolutely exhausted because blood sugar is all over the place. Hormones were all over the place. Nothing was actually stable. And so that's another aspect of giving my body stability and giving my cellular energy, all of the things, stability is, okay, keeping those types of things consistent is where you actually see changes. It's not going to be in the quick shift of, okay, I'm going to go on this specific fad diet. I'm going to go, I'm going to go keto. I'm going to do any of these things. Those things inherently make it all worse because you push your body further into that fight or flight because everything is variable.
Consistency is key, right? And I think knowing when to listen to your body and when not to is also important too. But consistency can be found, I feel, in a lot of people's lives with pre-planning, right? I think one thing that we've done in our house is not just try to prep groceries for the week, but let's actually prep what meals. For how long? Are we going to have this as just this night, or is this planned to be tomorrow's lunch too? And also pre-planning some of the days that we know we're not going to want to cook at home. Right. And we found those like tiki masala packets or the orange chicken from Trader Joe's.
That's a great one.
They're not ideal, but it's better than eating now. And we know in pre-planning that, hey, we're going to not want to do these things. So let's find things that are going to help us stay aligned in some ways while not completely veering off course.
Yeah. Well, I feel like a big portion of that as well is that consistency with meals, meal planning, all of that. Just veering off of that briefly, part of that too has been making things realistic. So not only with meal planning and all of that, but also with exercise, with sauna, with all of those things, making it what I'm actually going to do. In an ideal world, would I like to wake up at 5 a.m. and work out every single day and then sauna every evening? Of course. Does it actually happen? No. An extra 30 minutes here in the evening, extra 30 minutes of sleeping in the morning. Next thing you know, you're at the end of the week and you're like, great, I can hit 2 or 3 of those days. And so I think keeping it realistic so that way there's not that extra stressor of like, great, I slept in an extra hour this morning instead of working out. Now I'm going to feel terrible about it all day. Or, I ended up working a little bit later, so I'm not going to type into the sauna. Great, I just ruined my progress so far. So trying to have it as organized as possible and pre-planned, but also keeping it reasonable because I know what days I will actually do stuff, what days I need rest days, and it's not feasible to have them planned for every single day because that's not real life.
Yeah. And I think just full circle, like you're working more from fatigability, hormone balance, stress, anxiety balance, and being able to not just live for the weekends, but live for your everyday and have excitement for each day. Right. And throughout that process, consistency has been key. Finding things that you enjoy doing. You started playing cello. You picked up a few new books and series. And leaning into those things and knowing when to listen to your body or not. And finite amount of supplements that you found beneficial. It did take trial and error.
But now I think you're all down to the 4 main ones that I take.
You don't need a dozen plus supplements of single ingredient things that.
Which is exactly where more is not always better. Absolutely. And same with the supplements that are a conglomerate of 10 different things. I found a lot of those aren't what I need either. I need a couple of specific things and I need up time throughout the day at certain times. And that's been kind of what I figured out as far as not only energy levels, but no crash at the end of the day, sleeping well, feeling well, able to carry out some my tasks, no headache at the end of the week. And I'm not just dragging myself to the weekend. I'm actually enjoying the days. And I get home in the evening and I'm like, I actually have time to cook dinner. I'm having energy for playing my cello. I'm having energy for what I want to do as well, not just going to work, going home, and crashing.
And I think that's finding that little bit of extra energy and putting it towards things that you want to do, bring a lot of that excitement. And I feel a lot of people, a lot of patients even, it's like, well, I want to get better so I can go back to work. And it's like, well, I love that you want that, right? But like, what about things in your life, right? Like, let's give back to yourself, which is a 10-time return on your investment than giving back to yourself to work a job that you don't find a lot of purpose behind. Right. You find way more purpose in your life, and we find a lot of purpose in our work and what we do.
Right.
And there's still those days that it's tough for us to get through the day and find the energy to get through. And even throughout your journey, it's not a linear up. You certainly have days that you have headaches all day. You certainly have that crash at the end of the day, or that you have to crash the weekend because the week pushed you too hard. Right. And that's giving you, I've seen that from our side and my side of things. And as much as we know the healing is not linear, I've seen you get in your own head about, hey, I feel like I'm going nowhere. I feel like I have made no progress. All of this thing came crashing down and I'm not going anywhere. So kind of flip that into perspective again. And like, we had 10 new things this week that you handled. And it's Friday, you got a headache. Saturday, you couldn't go see you. That's okay. Right. Like, it doesn't mean that you didn't see progress, right? But there's situations to that. We're not going to be perfect the first handful of weeks, the first month, the first handful of months that we start working on ourselves either. So I think that's, as despite everything you might know as a person, having a community, having support to help show you that you are making progress from an external source is always a good thing to have.
And like another thing I found super beneficial in that realm is logging my weeks. basically just having my stuff tracker. What was different? Okay, this week was worse than last week, but last week I felt really good. What was I doing different last week compared to this week? What was I handling? What was my day-to-day? Was I out of one of my supplements? Did I not get to sauna at all? Was my sleep worse this week?
Did we skip meals?
Yep.
Did we cheat meals more?
Yeah, what was the factor? Did I add in something new that I don't usually do? And so now I'm checking my threshold at that.
Or 10 new fires to put out as a business owner?
Exactly. What was the differentiating factor that made this worse? Because there's not always a direct trigger, but there typically is some combination of things that are going to affect it.
Yeah. Holidays, stress, holiday poor diet, family things, moving into the stressful weeks of work, into planning what 2026 looks like, not having the best exercise,
All of the above.
not having snow to ski on, all the things.
Yeah.
So they definitely pile, but yeah, I think having a support group to help bring you back to show you, hey, we are still making progress, whether that's a spouse, a friend, a family member, whoever it is, being attuned with what you're working on, what you're trying to move towards, helping you see those changes, right? But yeah, I think that it's been really neat to see you go through all of this healing and self-learning, if you will, whether through trial and error of therapy and modalities and supplements, or specific comprehensive testings and functional testings. So, and it's nice to see that those functional tests showed us what we may have thought and helped paint those pictures and bring us back to what you were doing.
Yeah, and thus give a little more clarity, ways we can just tweak it a little bit.
Yeah, and more solidity is to solidify that history and listening to your patient can give you 80% of what proper and effective treatment plan can be without fancy dancy testing.
Yeah.
I would say that it was awesome because we have those at our fingertips. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
And they certainly help speed the process. Right.
Well, and they certainly point out smaller things that we're not necessarily going to figure out.
Absolutely.
No one's going to figure out COMT versus methylation.
No.
Versus.
And if you had a drastic drop in vitamin D, we would never know.
Exactly.
It was so light.
It is beneficial in
absolutely
whittling stuff down, narrowing things.
Yep.
However, it doesn't need to be the first thing.
No, it doesn't have to be. It certainly can be. But yeah, I think that it's been nice exploring our own personal health things.
Yeah.
I think next month we're going to keep trying to dive into personal health journeys, patient care.
Yeah, I think next month we should talk about your concussion.
Common questions. Yeah, and feel free. I mean, I've recently had a concussion, and I put a little story up on our Instagram, so you can go check that out. Some basic things on what I did over the weekend to help recover and get ready for my week ahead of me without symptoms. And yeah, I can also touch into some of the mold stuff in the past and my histamine stuff. Also touch on any hot topics that we see in patient questions over the next month, or hot fads in pop medicine, and maybe myths or what to actually think about or believe in. Cool. Well, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, thanks for joining, even though we're both co-hosts. This was a great convo. And I guess as an audience, we're looking to kind of flip to shorter things, shorter podcasts, and maybe lengthened out a little more on maybe a once a month cadence. Helps us a little better with planning and prepping and actually getting these things to you and not missing months. But if there is anything that you want to hear about, any questions you have, leave them in the comments. We'll be happy to discuss those in upcoming sessions and upcoming episodes. So, in the meantime, keep building a stronger brain, body, mind, and finding ways in your environment, in your life, that you can have a little extra joy in what you're doing and purpose behind it, and ways that you can help effectively apply some of the knowledge that you might be hearing into your day-to-day life, what works and what doesn't. The best plan is the plan you're going to do. So, thank you everybody for joining us, and stay tuned for next session.